Hello friends, I am doing a reread of Percy Jackson before the show comes out this month. At the time of filming this, the show comes out in 17 days, so we have not got long until. I am so excited. So I decided to do a reread and be ready for the show. Not that I've never read this before, but you know, what's an extra read going to do? It's going to do no harm, it's just going to make me happy. And I thought it would be fun to do a fun little reading vlog along with it, with my thoughts. I do feel like I'm doing about 100 videos at the moment though, so I don't know when you'll actually see this video and whether it will be before TV shows come out. So it might be after the TV shows come out. And at the moment I am 5 chapters in and I have many thoughts. So we're going to go through this in chronological order. The first sentence you read when you open a book, the first opening sentence of this entire series is, "Look, I didn't want to be a half-blood." That is how you open a book. If you are going to break the fourth wall in a book, if you're going to open a book, that is how you open it. I also do really struggle to say it without singing it because of this.
I didn't want to be a half-blood. I didn't ask to be a hero seeking praise.
I do really struggle not to sing it. But great opening. Like, this opening page, are you joking? This whole front page, that is how you suck a reader straight in. That is how you do it. Also, I know that we know Percy Jackson is a kid in this, but half time I feel like it's very much like, yeah, you fight that Minotaur, yeah, you go on those quests. This kid is 12. This kid watched his mum die at the age of 12. He killed a Minotaur with its own horn at 12 years old. That's a sure sign that Percy Jackson is going to be a big old hero. Like, oh my god. And he's just so normal. I know the whole point is he's not normal, but as in, he is sarcastic, he has ADD and dyslexia, he's just a normal 12-year-old kid who happens to be a half-blood demigod, and he fully destroys a Minotaur at 12 years old, and watches his mum die at 12. I feel like the trauma that comes with losing your parents and having that feeling of abandonment when his dad's obviously not been there for the first 12 years of his life, and he obviously doesn't know why, he just thinks he's been abandoned. I think the way that trauma is written in this series is so well done, and it's done with so much sensitivity. Reading it as an adult, I think especially, it feels so impactful and powerful reading how Percy has had that really deeply affect him. Sally Jackson, I love her. Mum of the year, mum of the century. That's the tweet. Sally Jackson, just love her. Annabeth Chase, no notes. I want a whole book series about Annabeth Chase and her adventures because she's just great. Grover Underwood, the best friend to end all best friends. I love them both. That trio is the golden trio. Annabeth, Grover and Percy, chef's kiss trio. And I cannot wait to see them be brought to life. Already the 3 kids have got me so like excited to see their takes on the roles and to see how they are going to own these roles, bring them to life and shine. Can't wait. I did notice though, reading this, you can tell this book was written in 2005. You can kind of tell because some of the language used slightly dated and a bit uncomfortable to read, but given the time context, it's kind of understandable. I personally don't think they've ever been really acceptable terms used here in the UK, so I don't know if they were in the US, maybe that's why they were used then. But yeah, I think that's more of a time written kind of thing. Also, people are now apparently getting outraged because the TV show just posted a photo of Percy when he finds out he's Poseidon's son with the giant trident thing above his head, and people are like, oh, it's a massive spoiler, and like, oh, that's the secret. That is not the secret of this book. We will get to the secret of this book when I reach that point. Near that point. Pretty sure it was always subtly hinted that Percy's dad was Poseidon. Least of all the fact there's literally a trident on the cover, and there's a trident in the title font, which is used on the TV show. But also, his dad is lost at sea. That's a big hint. Sally Jackson met Percy's dad, and then he went away for a mission at sea where he was lost. Subtle. And that's my current thoughts. Percy is literally just about to go meet the other campmate. That's another thing. Percy in the books literally has this weird power over water. Whenever he's near water and he's scared or feeling emotional, water does things. Why could that be? Also, in case it wasn't obvious, this video will have spoilers. The book's been out for years. The TV show's coming out in 17 days. There's going to be spoilers for the book in this video. Anyway, I'm going to go read some more and I will update as and when. Halfway through chapter 7 and I have too many thoughts to wait to the end of the chapter, so I'm going for it now. I love the innocence of Percy. I know he's just a kid, but it's like when They say at dinner, ask your cup for whatever you want and it'll be there, and he says cherry coke, and he's like, no, blue cherry coke, and he toasts to his mum. I'm like, oh, my heart hurts. And then when everyone goes to the fire pit to put a bit of their dinner in the fire to the gods, he's like, oh, I thought they were just going out for dessert. I'm like, oh, he's such a sweetheart. I love him. And I love how in the chapter before that, I think it is, when he's like, I don't want Grover to get into trouble because it's my fault I abandoned him at New York. That's why he didn't come with me after he got off the bus. Yes, Percy, it is your fault because you were a little git who cannot wait with his best friend, and you're like, I'm gonna abandon this guy. I know you didn't know why he was looking after you, but Percy, don't be a snake. And I just... I love him. I love Percy. Like, he's such a gorgeous little hero, and I just want to wrap him up in cotton wool and make him a cup of tea. Also, out of all of the cabins that Percy could have curiosity in, he has a little peek inside the cabin with the seashells outside. That's really funny. And why is it when he is, again, near water in the bathroom, somehow the toilet water all splashes up and over Clarice? Wow, yeah, the signs about him being Poseidon's son are really subtle. Also, spoilers, I love how Luke is as a character. Obviously, Percy's character, gorgeous, want to wrap him up in cotton wool, making a cup of tea, like I said. But Luke, like, he's never presented as the villain until the very end, which I know is the point, because that's the big surprise. But he's always just so likeable, but there's signs there which show you why he's been so easily influenced to be the bad guy. Like, you know, his real resentment at being abandoned by his own dad, which again I think is written so well in themes of abandonment and the long-lasting effects that can have, and kind of the trauma of having your parent walk out on you. I think it's handled so well. But yeah, you can see kind of little signs about that dotted into Luke's character really early on. But he's also written in such a likeable way. I think he's an absolutely fantastic character. I love him. I just finished chapter 7. Oh my god, when Percy says he feels like he's home, I'm like, ugh, I'm gonna cry. I love this book. I love that child. The big three in this book, Percy, Annabeth and Grover, are actually my children. I'm going to wrap them up in cotton wool. I'm going to make them all a cup of tea. I'm going to make everything better for them and take away all their hardships, because they go through too much too young, but also they're really cool and they're heroes and badasses. But I love them. I love them. I love this book. And Percy finally finding a home. Also, Annabeth ran away from her parents. Well, her dad and stepmom at 7 to go to Camp Half-Blood. She got to Camp Half-Blood at 7. First of all, someone needs to look after that little girl, because, oh my god, she deserves better. But also, I'm like, what an awesome 7-year-old. Like, there is never any doubt in my mind now that Annabeth can take care of herself. We all knew that anyway, because, come on, it's Annabeth. But if a kid can get herself from her dad and stepmom to a camp at 7 years old, kids going places. Reading update. About just under halfway through. Percy Jackson sending the literal head of Medusa to the Greek gods because he's impertinent and hacked off that these 3 kids have been caught up in their war. One of the most iconic things Percy Jackson could ever do. If you are hacked off at someone and want to make an impression, sending a decapitated head of Medusa the Gorgon, it's quite a big move, quite a bold move. Hat off to you, Percy. I respect that. Reading update. I just read the Chihuahua chapter, where it's actually a chimera, but it's also the chapter we hear a bit more about Annabeth. And it breaks my heart. She was rejected by her own dad. He made her feel completely unwanted, said he didn't want a kid, only to have 2 kids with another woman. So to prove it wasn't kids it was the problem, it was just Annabeth. Her stepmom didn't want her around either. Like, her whole backstory breaks me, because she's like, what, 5 or 6 when this all happens, because she runs away to Camp Half-Blood at the age of 7. 7 is so young. I forget how young they are in this book. 7 years old, to run away from home all by yourself, to get halfway across the country or however far it is to Camp Half-Blood at 7 years old without a parent to look after you or an adult to look after you. That really upsets me. She's so little and didn't feel like the love that she should have done. Like, all kids deserve to feel loved and safe and looked after, and they deserve to play with other kids. They don't deserve that rejection. It really upsets me she went through that so young. She's 12 when she's going on this quest with Percy. All 3 of them are like 12 years old. even that's really young to be going out into the world all by yourself to literally fight a war for the gods, to defeat monsters on behalf of the gods. They're kids. And Percy, at the end of this chapter I've just read, when he's like, well, maybe if I die it will all come to an end. Oh my god, at 12 years old, he should not be having to think about that. He's literally thinking, like, if I die, maybe this will all go away. If I die, maybe the monsters will leave these innocent mortals alone because I'm dead. At 12 years old, Rick Riordan, the genius you are writing these kids with so much complexities and depth and so much trauma that's written so beautifully and in such a harrowing, heartbreaking and emotional way. The themes in this book are so approachable to young readers, but so hard-hitting and heavy. Like, he's found that perfect balance. I forgot just how incredible these books are. Like, we know how amazing they are, obviously. It's Percy Jackson. But rereading it, I'm like, oh, this is really hitting me hard, especially as an adult now with all that life experience. And I'm reading about these kids. I'm like, oh my god, Rick Riordan is not messing around. These kids have been through stuff. And it's really hurting my heart. And they're all so young. Alright, it is now the 15th of December. Just over halfway through. I've got to finish all of that in 5 days, which I think is achievable. I want to talk about the character of Luke. I've just read the chapter where Percy and Annabeth end up in a tunnel of love, retrieving Ares' shield instead of Ares and Aphrodite. And in that chapter, the trio do an iris message to Luke, and I find the character of Luke so interesting because there's moments where I feel like there is good in him. I think that's kind of the whole point of any villain, really. There is still good there. But because especially Luke is still a child, I want to say he's about 17, because he's a little bit older than Annabeth and Percy and Grover. I can't remember since starting the book like a week ago. So he's still a child and easily influenced by someone significantly older than him, i.e. Kronos. And so when he's talking to Percy, I feel like within the text, you can see that actually, like, there is good in him, and actually he could have been a really good friend to Percy, but similarly Percy could have been a really good friend to Luke. I think they really could have brought out the best in each other. But then there's moments where also, like, reading it now, knowing what happens at the end, there are already seeds showing what the twist is going to be, that Luke is the lightning thief and that Luke is actually the bad guy. Like, for example, when Luke asks about the shoes he gave Percy with the wings, whether Percy's tried them on, and when Percy's like, yeah, of course I have, yeah, and we all know Percy's lying, he hasn't, but of course Luke doesn't know that. Percy's like, yeah, I have tried them on. Luke gets really excited and really happy, like, oh my god, amazing. And at face value you think, oh great, I gave my friend a present and he's using it and he likes it. But with dramatic irony, knowing what I know now, having read this book before, I'm like, oh my god, of course Luke's happy, because he now thinks that actually, when the time is right, Percy's going to have those shoes on and they're going to help him plummet to his death down in Tartarus. So yeah, I think the character of Luke is really interesting. I think he is so fascinating to read about. I'd love to have like a whole series just on Luke alone. I think that'd be really interesting to look at. And I just love him as a character. Oh, I do have a soft spot for Luke. He could have been so good, which I know is the whole point of a villain. But it's harder when they're kids. I'm loving this little reread. And on Tuesday, which is the day before Percy Jackson airs, I am going to hopefully make some blue cakes to eat on the day that it does air, because that would just make me very happy. Until the next reading update, that's it for now. I have many thoughts on the chapter I just read, which is the one where they go to Las Vegas with a zebra and a lion in the cage. If you know, you know. First of all, Percy Jackson, a literal 12-year-old child, having the guts to take on Ares, the god of war. We love to see it. Kids got guts. Also, I love how on a journey to Las Vegas, Annabeth is like, whatever happens, if there is a war, I'll be fighting whatever side you're on. And Percy's like, why? And she's like, because we're friends at Seaweed Break. Those two hurt my heart. I love them from day one. I also love in Lotus Casino, where although it's not really the best place for them to be, because it's where they waste time without realising it, and it's a trick. I love how Percy, Annabeth and Grover just get a chance to just be kids and just play games and have the innocent childhoods, having fun that they should have all had, that they all deserve to have. I love that for them. I also love how Percy's like, oh, Annabeth found this game where you can build your own city and see it come to life in front of you, and I didn't really get it, but it made Annabeth happy, and you can tell that makes him happy. Like, oh, Annabeth's happiness directly correlating with Percy's happiness hurts my heart. I love them. It's so wholesome, their friendship. which then grows into their relationship. That whole Lotus Casino bit, so much fun to read about. Something else I noticed in this one is how there's hints again to Luke being part of the Lightning Thief plot and being the Lightning Thief, because when Annabeth and Percy are trying to drag Grover out of the Lotus Casino, his shoes are trying to drag him back into the casino and make them fail their quest, so that there is a war amongst the gods. Like, I love those little hints from the very start when Luke turns out to be one of the bad guys. I've read a couple of chapters today on the 18th of December. 2 days to go, guys. 48 hours. I can't wait. I'm buzzing. I love how Cerberus guards the gates to the underworld. A literal 3-headed Rottweiler. And I'm like, he's really cute. And when Annabeth plays ball with him, I'm like, oh, baby boy. Soft baby guardian to the underworld. He's really not a soft baby boy, but he is. He's just a big pupper. I love doggos. I hope that someone is playing with Cerberus, giving him all the treats and playing ball with him. And again, with Grover and his magical flying shoes, dragging him into this big chasm, which we later find out is Tartarus. I'm like, at this point, if you haven't already guessed, surely the little like hints are starting to add up and alarm bells are starting to ring in your head. I think it's so clever. And again, when Percy's like, oh, this backpack I've got is getting really heavy, right after those magic shoes just nearly flew Grover into Tartarus. I love the build up to the reveals and like the plot twists. I think it's amazing. It's so well written. It's so clever, especially considering this is a middle grade book, so it's written in a way that's approachable and accessible and like interesting and engaging and exciting for young readers, but it also has all those feelings for me too, as like someone who is not a young reader anymore. I still find it really exciting to read and clever to read. Does that make sense? Like, I love how clever it is across all the ages and exciting across all the ages. And when they are face to face with Hades and there's only 3 pearls, that is the definition of found family, where Annabeth and Grover are willing to leave themselves there for the greater good of the other 2, just to all benefit Percy in the long run. Like, Grover is willing to stay behind because he hasn't got a proper soul and he'll come back as a flower. And when Annabeth is like, no, Grover, you've got to get your searcher's license. Percy, you've got to get out of here and take your mum with you. That's your mum. They are the original found family. That chapter really hurts my heart. The way that these are 12-year-old children as well. These aren't teenagers even. These are children willing to sacrifice their lives to Hades to stay there in the underworld for the rest of like time maybe, because they love their friends so much. The most gorgeous characters, and I love them. 50 pages left. Tomorrow is Tuesday the 19th of December and the show airs at 8 AM I think on Wednesday the 20th of December. 50 pages left for tomorrow. Then it's time for the show. Happy 19th of December. It's Percy Jackson Eve. Happy Percy Jackson Eve to everyone who celebrates. Today I'm going to do something very exciting. Here's the interlude.
Blue food isn't normal. Blue food is strange. And that's why it's my favorite. I never want to change. To make it boring, orange or green. Why be blah when there's aqua?
Mom, if you're weird, you're weak.
That's where you're wrong.
The cakes are baking, which you've just seen. So before I take them out of the oven, something very exciting just arrived in the post. My friend Helen lives in America, and hot topic, in America released an officially licensed Percy Jackson Camp Half-Blood t-shirt, but they don't ship to the UK. So my friend Helen in America bought it on my behalf and sent it to me. And I watched it make its way from Wisconsin to Chicago to the UK to my house. The tracking has been so fun to watch. And now it's here. So let's get changed. Oh my god, how cool is this? Oh my goodness. I love it. An officially licensed Camp Half-Blood t-shirt. What world are we living in that this is now a thing? I love this so much. I'm going to wear it today while I finish reading the book and baking the cakes. And I'm going to wear it tomorrow while I'm watching the TV show. We now live in a world where we've got officially licensed Percy Jackson merchandise. I'm living a dream. I'm so happy. Alright, I got excited, so I've got my little Camp Half-Blood necklace on here off Etsy with all the different charms like Annabeth has, and I've got my little Percy Jackson Trident wave necklace thing like off Vinted, and I have got my sword earrings in. Okay, back to cakes.
We're going on an awesome, dangerous and scary, thrilling, and hairy killer heroes quest.
Percy Jackson being 12 years old and ready to take on the literal god of war, Ares, at 12. This kid is on a beach and he's like, fine, gonna fight you then. He's 12. That's the god of war. Kid's got courage. And when Ares is like, oh, I've got thousands of years experience and I'm the god of war, or something like that, what are you? And Percy's like, I've got less of an ego. I love Percy's sarcastic, witty comments. I really hope we get his comedy in the TV show, because Percy Jackson is so sarcastic, has such a dry, witty sense of humour, and I love it. And then when he's about to fight Ares, and Annabeth gives him her special necklace, and then Grover giving him a literal tin can just to say the satyrs are behind him. I love that golden trio. Oh, I love this book series so much. Everything. The characters, the found family, the world, the magic, the Greek mythology, the history. Oh, I'm nearly done. But then you got another, 4 books in the series, so... I find it really interesting reading this. Percy's just gone to Olympus, and he's just walked into the throne room, and he can see Zeus. And he's like, oh, sitting next to Zeus is his brother, and I find it really interesting that's how Percy says it, or thinks it himself, as Zeus's brother rather than his actual dad, because obviously we then, instantly that's Poseidon. Then when you read the description, there's no doubt it is Poseidon. But it's just really interesting to me how Percy never says, oh, it's my dad at that point. He just says, oh, that's Zeus's brother. Just an interesting observation. Poseidon, the god of the ocean, calling Sally Jackson a queen. I agree, we love to see it. And the way he's like, oh, I'm sorry you're born, you've got a hero's fate, and a hero is never happy. And I'm like, no, Percy does become happy. He gets his found family, he goes on adventures. Yes, he's probably emotionally traumatised and emotionally exhausted. He is now, all these books later, in the most recent one, he's starting to go to college. He does become happy. Not all heroes end up dead. Last chapter. The last one. I'm excited because then it's tomorrow. Let's finish the book. I'm just reading about when the trio returned to Camp Half-Blood, and it says that they got to burn the burial shrouds the cabins had made for them in their absence. I know that most demigods end up dead when they go on quests, but that's a bit presumptuous. Jackson using Medusa's decapitated head to turn Gabe into a statue and then selling it to an art collector to then make enough money to get her own place. She's the most iconic woman ever. Sally Jackson, I love her. What an icon. This book is nearly making me cry, and I've read it so many times before. It's the exact line where Percy goes, I'd finally found a family, people who cared about me and thought I'd done something right. Found family wins every time. Found family snaps every time. Percy Jackson, at 12 years old, finally found a family. As he deserves. The big reveal. We know that Luke is the lightning thief. We know how he did it. And we know that he's been working with Kronos. And he convinced Ares on Kronos' behalf to help elevate things. And I find Luke's character so interesting. I know I said this a million times in this video, but the reason that all of this stemmed from Luke is because Luke is so bitter at the gods. He's been abandoned by his father. The gods are ruling over the universe. They cause all this mischief and mayhem, and they don't care. It's up to everyone else to clean it up. They let Talia, daughter of Zeus, die, who was one of Luke's best friends. They don't take responsibility for their actions. They don't really care about the consequences of what they do. So I can completely understand where all his evilness stems from. But he feels the same way probably most of the other campers do. All of the other campers have also been rejected and abandoned by their godly parents, and yet Luke's the one that turned out evil because he was emotionally manipulated by a higher being. He was a 14-year-old child when he first got to camp, and then you have the Greek gods and Kronos, who are thousands of years old, and of course they know how to manipulate children to get what they want. They are clever, and poor Luke has been completely brainwashed and made into this evil guy, and I just think it's really heartbreaking and really sad to see what Luke could have been, because he could have had the found family that Percy's just found. Like, him and Percy could have been best friends. He could have found a real, genuine family in that camp. And he probably did for some point, but this evil nature has taken over him because of the manipulation he's been put through and the brainwashing he's been put through, that now, like, I think it's just so interesting to read about, and I could talk about it forever. I think Luke has got so much depth and complexity to his character, and I love it. I love reading about it. Hearing him talk about what he did and why, and the reasoning behind it, and what led him to this point, all of that is so interesting. This is one of my favourite closing chapters of any book, just because hearing this all unfold and hearing all this explanation, it's just so interesting to me. All done. I'm close to tears, but I'm not there because I have read it before. I love the ending of this book. When Percy's like, yeah, I'm going to go home for the summer. I'll survive until then. And again, because of the musical, I can't read that without singing it in my head.
I'll be back next summer, you'll see me again. I'll be back next summer, I'll survive till then.
Also, I love how Annabeth gives her family another chance on Percy's advice. And Grover's gone off to try and find Pan. It's just such a lovely ending, you know, apart from the whole Luke being a betrayal to his friends. But apart from that, even that's so cleverly done. This is such an epic first book. Imagine reading this and like not knowing there's more books to come. What a way to kick off a series. How epic is this book? And now I want to read Sea of Monsters. But no, I finished the book and I'm going to watch the TV series tomorrow, and then we'll take it from there. I am not going to do a live reaction to the TV series because the first time I watch it, I want it to just kind of be for me, to soak it all up and enjoy it and just really lose myself in this new adaptation. And obviously I don't want to post spoilers for everyone, and I have seen we're going to get weekly episodes until like the end of January. So what I might do is, after all of the episodes have aired, maybe like February time next year, I'll do a video talking about what I think about the TV series. But for now, that is the end of this video. That was me reading along to Percy Jackson. I didn't realise until just now that I haven't done a single time lapse while reading it, not one. So it was just a lot of me talking, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked this video. Thank you for watching. It does mean the world to me that people watch my silly little videos and hear my silly little thoughts. I blooming love Percy Jackson. I love the universe. I love the characters. I love this book. I love all the books. I'm so excited for the TV series. So yes, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you watch the show, I hope you like it. If you're not watching it, I hope that you are reading or watching something that makes you happy. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And I will see you all again soon. Bye.